Welcome to the Horror Unmasked podcast,
where we unmask the monsters
and explore the lore.
I'm Amber.
And I'm Lily, and today we will be dissecting
Candyman.
Let's get our hooks into it. There is a little boy named William playing with shadow puppets when his mother calls for him to do the laundry. We are in an area called Cabrini Green in 1977. While William goes outside to the laundry area, there is a giant hole in the wall behind him, but he ignores it and continues to wash the clothes. When William is done, a piece of candy comes out of the wall, and a tall man with a hook for a hand steps out. The police that were sitting outside hear William scream and run to investigate.
It is now present day, where a gay couple, Troy and Grady, walks down the street on their way to meet Troy's sister, Brianna, and her boyfriend, Anthony. The group discuss Anthony's art and then come to the topic of housing, since Troy is a real estate agent. They talk about how white people built the ghetto that is Cabrini Green and then tore it down to develop everything around it.
Trying to change the topic, Troy asks the group if they want to hear a scary story. He begins to tell them the story of Helen Lyle, a white grad student who was doing a thesis on Cabrini Green. After coming to the area, meeting the people, taking pictures, she snapped. She took a hook, beheaded a dog, and began doing snow angels in its blood. After escaping the authorities, she killed many people and even abducted a baby. There is an annual bonfire held by the community where Lyle shows up and tries to put the baby in the fire. The group of people jump her and take the baby back, to which Lyle walks into the fire, sacrificing herself.
When Grady and Troy leave, Bree and Anthony get ready for bed while they discuss the art that Anthony will be showing and the story that Troy told them about Lyle. The next day, the couple is meeting with an art curator about Anthony's work, who tells him that he needs something new. Anthony tells the curator that he's thinking about starting a project on the projects and how white people have created neglected spaces for people of color.
Back at the apartment, Anthony goes down a rabbit hole, researching everything he can about Helen Lyle. He then leaves to take pictures of Cabrini, getting stung by a bee in the process. Anthony jumps the fence to get better pictures of the abandoned homes when he comes across a man named William while trying to dodge the police. William invites Anthony back to a laundromat to tell him more about the lore of the community and how Helen Lyle was looking for Candyman.
William tells Anthony about Candyman, how he was a man named Sherman Fields with a hook for a hand who would hand sweets out to kids. One Halloween, a razor blade showed up in a little white girl's candy, so the cops thought Fields was the suspect. William says that he found Fields in the wall of the laundry room, and when he screamed, officers stormed him down and killed him. However, Fields was innocent.
Again at the apartment, Anthony feels inspired and begins to paint, which he hasn't truly done in a couple of years. Brianna gets back home, and Anthony is eager to show her his work. It is a painting of Sherman Fields, with cop hands above him, beaten so badly that his face is unrecognizable. Anthony tells Bree about the legend, how if you say Candyman 5 times in the mirror, he comes back and begins to summon him.
It is now the day of the art show, where Anthony has set up a mirror inviting people to summon Candyman. Once you open the mirror, behind the wall is all of his art pieces inside the room. An art critic, Finley, sees the work and is immediately skeptical, saying that his work is a cliche on the gentrification cycle. Anthony gets drunk and starts insulting some of the other artists, Clive and Jerica, when Brianna drags him out and back home.
The two artists stay behind to clean up and talk shit about Anthony and Bree. When they finish, Jerica tries to use the summoning ritual for Candyman to seduce Clive. When she finally says his name 5 times in the mirror, Candyman slits Jerica's throat with his hook, then kills Clive.
The next morning, Anthony is painting vigorously with his now very scabbed over hand from the bee sting. Meanwhile, Bree goes back to the art exhibit and finds Clive and Jerica dead in front of Anthony's art piece titled Say My Name. On the news, they discuss Anthony's piece, which now has traction due to the murders.
In a flashback, we see Brianna's father commit suicide in front of her, while at the same time, the body she found at the exhibit. Bree wakes in a panic, revealing she was having nightmares about the death she has seen, and finds Anthony has left the bed. She finds him in the bathroom, where he closes the door in her face, wanting to be alone.
The next day, Anthony goes to the college library and picks up all of the information on Helen Lyle. While listening to a tape recording of Lyle's, Anthony gets into the elevator, which the walls are made of mirrors. The elevator malfunctions, and a piece of candy falls to the floor. Anthony picks it up and cuts himself on a razor blade that is inside the candy. He then begins to hear raspy breathing coming from above, and when he looks up, sees Candyman staring back at him in his own reflection.
Anthony is back at his studio, still listening to the Lyle tapes, painting like a madman, his bee sting getting visibly worse. Anthony then tells Bree that he's heading out, to which Bree reminds him about a dinner that they have to go to and tells him not to be late. Anthony goes to the critic's apartment from the art show, who is now interested in writing a story about his pieces and how they relate to the murders that happened.
Anthony tells Finley that he's hoping to expand his collection and wants to do a solo show. He wants to continue his project about Candyman and the gentrification of Black communities. He then calls the critic out about wanting to write the story, but not wanting to understand or learn more about the communities. Finley leaves to go to the bathroom, leaving Anthony to sit and pick at his scabbed over bee sting. He picks a little too hard and begins to bleed.
Anthony wraps his hand and wonders why Finley is taking so long. While wandering around, he stumbles upon a mirror in the hallway, where he sees Candyman in the background. When he turns around, he then becomes Candyman in the reflection. Anthony is freaked out, but before anything else can happen, Finley comes out of the bathroom and asks if he's okay. Anthony, still freaked out, leaves in a hurry. When he does, we see an invisible figure kill Finley, putting a hook in her neck and dragging her across the window.
Anthony has made it to the dinner, where Brianna is talking to a few people who are very clearly big in the curating world. In the middle of giving her offers, they all get notifications about Finley's death, to which Anthony freaks out and runs out of the restaurant. He then goes back to the laundromat to meet with William, who tells him about the story that brought Helen to investigate.
William tells Anthony that there are many different Candymans. Samuel Evans, killed in the 50s from housing riots. William Bell, lynched in the 20s. And the first one, Daniel Robitaille, in the 1890s, who painted portraits. He fell in love with a white woman he was painting a portrait for and got her pregnant. Her father had multiple people hunt him down, beat him, cut off his arm, and shove a hook in the stump, smearing honey all over him to attract the bees, and then set him on fire, finally killing him.
That is too much.
That is a lot.
That is too much to go through to kill somebody.
Yeah.
Because he's still alive for a lot of that.
He's alive for the arm cut off,
The hook,
stump,
the bees.
the honey bee stings.
It's too much.
Mm-mm.
Brianna is back at the apartment and goes into Anthony's studio, finding huge, dark paintings of many people seemingly to be infected by Candyman. There's paint everywhere, on the floor and on the walls. Anthony comes home to find Bree snooping and yells at her to not look at the paintings. The tension has risen as Bree asks Tony what is going on.
Reluctantly, Tony tells Bree that he thinks he has brought Candyman back. Bree tries to reason with him, saying that Candyman isn't real. Wanting to prove it, she goes to the mirror and begins saying his name. Before she can get another one out, Tony grabs the mirror and smashes it on the floor. Bree is freaked out and leaves immediately.
Bree goes to her brother's house for safety and to tell him what happened. Troy consoles her, but then brings up that their mom wants to close the storage unit with their father's art. Troy suggests selling or even keeping some pieces, but Bree wants nothing to do with it.
In another scene, a girl that was at the art show from earlier walks into the bathroom at a high school. She had seen Anthony's work and wanted to summon Candyman with her friends. The friends are skeptical, but decide to say his name 5 times in the mirror.
It seems like the ritual doesn't work, as a girl, Trina, comes into the bathroom and straight into the stall because the girls start to pick on her for getting trashed at a party. When the girls try to leave, the door is locked. One girl uses a pocket mirror and sees something behind her. She tries to warn the other girls, but they don't listen and end up getting killed brutally by Candyman.
Trina is still in the bathroom stall with headphones on when she hears some commotion and then sees blood start to pool around her. The one girl's mirror drops to the floor, and Trina is able to see what is killing the girls around her.
Tony wakes up in his art studio, covered in shards of glass, his nails peeling from his skin from the bee sting that has gotten outrageously infected at this point. Meanwhile, Bree is talking to one of the curators from the previous dinner, who tells her that her father's legacy and the recent murders she discovered gives her an interesting backstory. She then shifts the conversation to Anthony, saying that she's very interested in his work.
Anthony goes to the hospital for his hand and discovers that he was born in the hospital near Cabrini Green and not the South Side, like his mother had told him. Tony goes to visit his mom to ask her the truth about his past and about Candyman. She tells him that he's the baby that was taken from the Helen Lyle story. She then tells Tony that Lyle wasn't the one who killed all of those people. Instead, it was Candyman. She reveals that Lyle actually saved Tony from the fire, pulling him out and giving him back to her.
Tony's mom thought Lyle had ended everything that night, making a pact with the community to never speak his name again. Tony leaves angrily and goes back to the abandoned houses in Cabrini Green. Troy goes with Bree to her apartment to pick up some of her things and leave. Bree is worried because she hasn't heard from Tony in a while when she discovers a pen from the laundromat. Spoiler warning, skip ahead.
Bree decides to go over to the laundromat, but gets locked inside the back room. When she tries to get out, William comes from the basement and grabs her. In a flashback, 2 girls shut their little brother out of their room when they decide to summon Candyman. When the boy opens the door again, there is blood everywhere, and he can see Candyman in the mirror.
Back at the laundromat, William says they finally have a witness. When Bree wakes up, they are in an abandoned church, where William is calling the police, saying he has seen the Say My Name killer by the houses in Cabrini. William has Tony tied up, where we can see that the bee sting infection has traveled to the entire right side of his body.
William begins to explain that it is now time for Candyman to take back what's his legend. Bree finds the laundromat pen in her pocket and begins to cut herself free. Before she can get completely loose, William takes a saw, cuts Anthony's hand off, and shoves a hook into the stump. He then cuts Tony free and puts the Candyman jacket on him.
We hear the cops outside and see Bree running out of the room. Bree finds herself in a dark tunnel system and hears William singing a creepy song while chasing her. They end up outside and then into the abandoned housing at Cabrini. William finds her, but before he can do anything, she takes her pen and stabs him multiple times in the face.
Anthony comes inside, where he walks up to Brianna and collapses in her arms. The police finally show up and shoot Anthony dead. The cops put Brianna in the back of their car and threaten her, saying she needs to lie about what happened to Anthony or be named an accomplice in murder.
Brianna asks to see herself in the cop's mirror, and she would say whatever they want. The cop agrees, and Bree begins to summon Candyman. After she says his name 5 times, the cops begin to die one by one as Anthony, now Candyman, begins to kill them. Brianna escapes the cop car and comes across Candyman. Not Tony, but the original. As he puts his hook through the final cop, bees swarm him, and he tells Bree to tell everyone what happened. The end. Whew. This is a very
a lot.
intense
It's very deep,
story.
very dark. Yeah.
So
Let's just start with the basics.
before we start with that, though,
Okay. Yes.
brief preface for this entire episode. There is obvious racism involved. It is a highly racially charged film, as it is focusing on Black culture, and also during the time period that this film came out was during the heights of the BLM protests and everything. So we're going to be as respectful as possible, but just like be aware later when we do reviews.
Not everyone is very nice.
So just,
but I think
be aware of that.
It's important to talk about.
So this film was released August 27th, 2021. And the director is Nia DaCosta.
Or Naya, whichever.
Naya?
I think it's Naya.
Naya DaCosta. Apologies. Naya DaCosta.
Some of our main actors, Yahya Abdul, who is Anthony McCoy, Teyona Paris.
Paris, yeah.
Paris. Brianna Cartwright. We have Coleman Domingo. I love him. Who is William Burke, the crazy man.
Yep.
Yeah. Those are our...
They have they had a $25 million budget.
We also have Tony Todd, who was the original
Gotcha.
Candyman, I believe. He made a little cameo at the end. That was the original Candyman at the end.
Was it the end?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
That's why I was like, not Tony, but the original.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Tony Todd, who played Daniel Robitaille in this one, but he's the original Candyman.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. In the box office, it made almost $78 million.
Not shocked.
Really good.
It's a beautiful film, so.
Yeah. And it's pretty short. It's only 91 minutes, so only an hour and a half.
But it's got a really strong story.
And I feel like it felt longer
yes.
than what it was because they put so much information in there and like background and lore. It got an 84 on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
And it's so many production companies. We've got Monkey Paw from Jordan Peele, MGM, and Universal Pictures.
Yep.
So I would be surprised if they don't do a house at some point.
Oh, I would be shocked, especially because they've already done the Bugs Eaten Alive, so this would be an easy one to do.
Right.
But God, this movie's intense.
Yeah.
It made skin itch.
I didn't get that sensation, but I get why people would.
Like, made my skin itch. Just him picking at his scabs and shit, just like, no thank you. That just was gross.
Yeah.
And him pulling out his fingernail.
That was nasty.
Nasty.
But I relate to that because I've had a toenail pulled and that was not fun. My big toe too. So
that's so gross.
Yeah.
This is a heavy, like lots of history. So we're going to try and keep this episode not from going too crazy long.
Yeah. But there's so much background information and just things that are important
condensed
to talk about.
a lot of it. We have our Emmy and ADG award nominated production designer Cara Brown, who was the one who helped create a lot of the stuff for Candyman. And obviously they were finding local Black artists in Chicago basically to decorate and have in like the different shows and all the different art that was in the homes and stuff. And yeah, they definitely wanted to reflect the story of gentrification while still planting a couple seeds from the original 1920s film. Obviously, it's set in Chicago, and they wanted it mainly to be at Cabrini, but when they were looking for different locations, they actually found the loft that's their apartment, basically. They were reading a book, and a lot of people who had lived in the towers that were originally there worked in factories around the area, and there were a lot of warehouses that had been converted into luxury lofts and stuff. Ooh. And since obviously they were telling the story of gentrification, they looked at those places, and they ended up finding a place that had an apartment for sale, and it had the studio that outlooked on Cabrini, which was perfect, which added to that feeling of connection to it. And then it also helped the actors themselves get into the headspace because they were able to walk around and like there's like yoga studios, coffee shops, and then you walk a couple blocks over and it's just remnants of where like the towers were. And that helped like balance the tension and like bring it to the forefront, because it's this, you know, industrialized area, but there's like remnants of destruction.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had a lot of, like I said, black artists. Cameron Spratley and Sherwin Ovid, they got to showcase their work by decorating, obviously, the characters' apartments. And they found a whole bunch of different artists along the way. They had a art curator named Hamza Walker to help put together the shows and stuff.
That's pretty cool.
And they were, I guess, Hamza's a deeply respected figure in the art world, and he was able to bring the incredible artists that they wouldn't have been able to work with otherwise to the project. And like all the art and sculptures, and Nia wanted an interactive video piece, so they were able to work to not only put a theme and a story together, but also the architecture of the scenes, like in the different areas. And like, it's funny because Anthony's piece for that little art show, that first one that they're encountering, is intentionally supposed to be underwhelming, and that's how they get into like the bathroom mirror piece with the artwork behind it. They wanted it to be a stumble for him in terms of his art, because it's supposed to be like he's leaning on old habits and not like expanding.
Yeah, that kind of
it came across.
Yeah.
Just as an artist in general, being people who are artists in general.
Yeah.
Leaning on classic techniques.
Yeah.
Don't always help.
True.
Grow.
Yeah.
But, you know, finding inspiration to grow off of can also be just as difficult.
I mean, I liked the idea of like the mirror and then having the artwork like in the room behind it.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna lie, the artwork itself was like,
yeah, and that was intentional.
Yeah.
Obviously,
it just showed he's more into the concept of Candyman than.
Yes.
Because it's Candyman first, that's the mirror, and then his art is behind it.
Exactly.
So,
it's also interesting as a thought process for the film itself. It's the idea of the character's focus is more on Candyman than that he's more interested in figuring out what's going on in that story than his own future. Yeah. Which is very foreshadowy.
Mm-hmm. Extremely.
But yeah, they wanted to take obviously the seeds from the original, but they wanted a different look. They didn't want to go down the road of like a derelict graffiti from the first film, but they thought it would be great to have those seeds in it. Hamza brought in a local Chicago artist named Tubbs so that his work, black and white graffiti in the gallery, when Anthony was poking around and in the row houses, they did a little spin on Clive Barker's original drawing for the Candyman monster in there as well. So like on like the walls, there's like it's the artist Tubbs.
So let me talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
Candyman, originally from Clive Barker's Books of Blood.
Yeah.
And that's just like a book. I actually have it. That's why I was like, oh, cool. I have that book, so I'm probably going to read it now.
The Book of Blood?
Yeah, the Books of Blood. Like, it's a collection of
that's cool.
Many stories, and this is just one of them that's in there.
Huh.
Yeah, originally it was a short story about a graduate student who, like, tries to investigate some urban legends, and it's set in Liverpool.
Oh.
And he, like, it says he conjures up supernatural forces in a decrepit housing estate. So it's very much like that, but
yeah.
I love how they've turned it into, like, a story about gentrification and, like, the brutalities of Black people in America.
Yeah.
Very clever. And so now it's just... I found a thing where it says, now he represents a manifestation of the brutalities, horrors, and disenfranchisement of the African American community that were especially present in their corresponding eras. So, like, every single Candyman that there has been, like, represented a point in time where, like,
horrific things
were happening, and, like, they each were different.
Yeah.
So, and how each Candyman is a Black man who has been, like, wrongfully
accused,
executed.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So that's just where Candyman comes from. There's no, like, way back in the day or whatever this was created. It was just a short story that Clive Barker made that
grew
has
into
been
its
taken
own lore.
So the original film was directed by Bernard Rose, and so obviously there are lots of different inspirations from different legends. Obviously Bloody Mary is present. You say Bloody Mary in the mirror a bunch of times, she's gonna show up, so scratch your face off.
Yeah.
They've taken many different pieces of different things and, like, put them into this.
Yeah.
So it's just inspiration from everywhere. The history of Black culture, Clive Barker's stuff, different types of legends. He's just one big conglomeration of
lots of history.
Yeah.
Lots of history is the root of this film. So like when they started, I guess, scouting and stuff in the area, they went to the fields where the towers were originally, and it's literally just a field. The area was like completely gentrified, and when they were there, they were like, it's actually really unsettling because there are some bits of it that haven't been built yet, but then it's surrounded by lots of like obviously new luxury towers, like the yoga studios, coffee shops, and stuff like that. And it's a strange juxtaposition, and the area where the towers used to be, people just kind of use as a park now, I guess.
There's there's a lot of history to Cabrini itself.
Yeah.
I guess when it first came to be, like, Cabrini itself, like 11 people were murdered and like almost 40 people shot.
Yeah.
Like within that just first little area, and apparently it used to be called Swade Town and then Little Hell.
Oof.
Yeah, because everybody was in poverty and there was just a whole bunch of
bad shit.
Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah, and I guess also while they were scouting and looking around, they ended up having to also look outside of where they were originally planning to film, and so they found like row houses and everything like that so that they would have some other locations to shoot. And then they also had the church, which was not in the original film, but was very interesting and powerful image because it's kind of the, the derelict nature of it. But yeah, most of the stuff is abandoned except for one street, apparently. So, which was even kind of touched on in the film. It's the residents were moved to that one street, and then the other homes were condemned. It's 3 streets. There's the condemned housing with one street. And then there's Archlight Cinema, I guess that was near there. And Brower and Naya went there to go see a movie. And they were like, let's drive through Cabrini. And because they were still trying to get the layout of it. And they drove down the one street where the residents are. And there was a cop car stationed at both ends of the street. And they were like, we have to put this in the movie.
Yeah.
And so when the character of Will Burke says the cops are stationed on either side of the street, we don't know if they're keeping us safe or keeping us in.
Yeah.
So it's definitely that, darker side of it. So also the shadow puppets throughout the whole thing.
Those were so cool.
Very cool. And I guess they were from a group called Manual Cinema. Basically, it was a company in Chicago that's basically like their main thing. That's all they do is shadow puppetry. And that they were a theater company. And they do some like videos and things like that, but they'd never done anything on the scale of like this film. And it was like really, those were such a cool
little added
part
detail
of that, like a storytelling portion. And then just the idea of like you're getting the backstories of also the previous Candyman,
Yeah.
Getting some of those older stories through the shadow puppet work was really cool, and they were beautifully done.
Yeah.
Like it was such a fascinating, you don't get a whole lot of interesting cinematic stuff, and I feel like the shadow puppets were really cool. Yeah,
for sure. I love that kind of art style. Especially since a lot of the movies art related.
Yes.
And then they added that just made it seem more
very artistically driven.
Yes.
Film. And then the special makeups effects designer J. Anthony Koser, which I found out was one of the winners of Face Off. I love that show.
I love that show.
So
it's so
it was very exciting to actually find out that he was actually responsible for bringing many of the iterations of Candyman to life.
Yeah,
especially the gnarly transformation that triggers trypophobia.
Oof.
It was gory.
I wouldn't say it does it in the movie because it's so dark in the movie when it like...
I mean, my skin still itched throughout the whole film. That movie made my skin itch. So
I guess I'm not as sensitive to that, which is strange because body horror.
Yeah, for you it was the arm that probably getting the cut off was gonna be more of it,
and the shoving of the hook.
But yeah, it's actually kind of fascinating because it started small with a simple bee sting, and then it slowly took over his body. And they had several stages.
Do you think that was Candyman possessing him?
I think it was the soul of Candyman. I feel like Candyman isn't like any of the previous men. It's just kind of like an entity of in itself that then takes over.
I agree, but that's what I'm saying. I think that's how I love when people do other things different than vomit in the mouth. Like, that's gross.
Yes. I think the bee sting was a
really
fascinating
way.
concept.
Yeah.
Because it, like, you know, it makes sense. It touches back on the horrible death of the very first Candyman with the bee honey.
For sure.
And that's really fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
And like, yeah, so getting into the stages of the transformation of him becoming Candyman, it was a lot. So it was quite a bit. So it started with, obviously, the first bee sting, which was just a little tiny welt. There was a 1-to-1 and a 2-to-1 prosthetic as it got a little more filled with pus and stuff like that.
Ew.
Yeah. Stage 2 spread a little bit bigger and was starting to erupt in different blisters. Stage 3 was the one that we saw quite a bit, where it was a big giant scab.
I didn't like when he pulled it off.
That's the scab.
Yeah.
He was like, that's the scab he ended up picking off, which became the 3.2. And then the stage 4 is where he wakes up after he has an argument with Brianna, and he's in a studio and he wakes up on the floor and pulls his fingernail off, was stage 4.
Nasty.
And then it's all the way up his arm at that point and starts to go up the side of his face.
Yeah.
So that was 4. And then 5 was the final stage right before his arm came off, which was completely deteriorated and rotten. So his whole arm and everything was rotten. The arm was pretty much dead at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So that
so
was...
did he even really feel his arm getting cut off? Like, because he made noises.
Yeah, he made noises, but I think he was so taken over.
I want to know why he didn't go to the hospital sooner.
I know. You don't see that shit growing like that.
My hand
started
is
getting
like
bigger.
that.
Hell no. That's an immediate
hospital.
Run to the hospital. Get that shit checked out. Hell no. So that was stage 5 with a couple of tweaks to some of those stages. Then as far as the honeycomb stuff, that started progressing up the side of Anthony's face. They had stages of that. 1, you see just a little bit. It was on his arm, chest, shoulders, neck, and just on his jawline, which we saw when he was talking to his mother. And then stage 3 was pretty much the final Candyman look when it fully took over him in the chapel. That went all the way to his entire arm, chest, shoulders, part of his back, and the entire side of his face, completely with contacts and everything. And here's what's even crazier. So while they were filming, apparently some of the days they were putting on layers of this and then having to pull it back off to do other stages of the previous ones, or completely removing it to do something before he even got the bee sting. And then it was basically they had to like pay attention to the script and like what they were going to shoot, because they kept having to take stuff off and put stuff on, and it would be were in and out, like having to swap between all the different stages.
That's
so
chaotic.
It was crazy.
That's a lot went into this.
Yeah. And I mean, and Anthony Kosar, he knew that the trypophobia was going to trigger people and be extreme.
As of recent, like, people have really been bugging out over trypophobia.
Yeah. So, and like, he had fun with the different sizes and stuff and like how it erupted.
No,
but
don't say that.
It's actually interesting because it's a very thin piece, and he just worked with like playing with dimension and everything, because it still looked like the dude's skin.
Yeah, you don't want it to be too far raised.
So it had a lot to do with how they were painting it and everything, and it was a 4-hour application process.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's a long drive.
Yeah. And then kind of my last little thingy here is basically every time someone died, it was meant to be kind of off camera or in the shadows.
Yeah.
Because it's, they believe that things that are scary far away are much more frightening than things that are close up. Yeah, because it has to do with like Jordan Peele's approach to horror, that things from a distance are scarier than things up close.
Yeah. I mean, to a certain extent. Like, when the critic was being killed, I couldn't even really tell what was happening.
Yeah.
Until I like rewound it and like looked at it, and I was like,
oh
no shit.
Yeah, when I saw it the first time, I was like, oh shit, she's just being dragged across that fucking window.
Because I almost didn't see it, because they like zoomed out so far.
Yeah.
But like the bathroom scene when the girls are being killed around the corner.
Oh
ooh,
yeah.
That one got me. Not gonna lie. That was creepy.
That was definitely more frightening.
Yeah. And like, that's with every kill, because you don't even really see Anthony getting shot.
No.
Very much. And like, all the cops are dying in the shadows. And, and well, the only ones that you really, really see are like Clive and Jerica from the beginning.
I mean, you see a little bit of the cops just because like one dude gets his jaw fucking ripped off and
Yeah, but he just kind of like,
gored open, and
yeah,
it's dark,
it's creepy, it's dark,
it's
it's
gory.
this movie definitely appeals to Kairos. I was talking about this earlier, but yeah, a lot of people in these reviews were brutal, and I had to stop reading it. These 1-star reviews. This movie came out in a time that
Social injustice was a very strong component of how society was and what society was trying to like fight and deal with.
very strong. So obviously this movie is going to have some very strong political viewpoints and standpoints.
Yeah.
Not even that, like, I don't understand why it's all political, because it's just human fucking rights.
It's socioeconomic
yes,
bullshit. It's
that.
dealing with all of the chaos of like just treat people like they're people.
So I understand why some people might think that this movie is a little much, but at the same time, these are things that people experience
all the time,
daily basis.
Yeah.
And if you're not Black, you're not really gonna know that.
Yeah.
So if you think it's a lot,
yeah, it's because it is.
It's because it's a lot. That's what people go through.
Like, go actually speak to people who are Black and speak to the communities that are dealing with,
like,
especially in like heavy areas like Chicago and other places. It's like, you know, bad shit happens, and unfortunately, you know.
Yeah, like even like when all the murders first happened in like the 80s in Cabrini Green, the mayor of Chicago moved into the apartments, like the Cabrini Green apartments, for a few weeks to like bring attention to what's happening. So that's like somebody who actually went and lived in that area,
like gave
saw
a
what
shit
it was like,
and was trying to like do stuff about it,
did the best they could to understand what that situation is like. So needless to say, the 1-star reviews got me a little heated, and it just,
so don't be shocked if you get pissed, guys, because if you get pissed, you're gonna be pissed about it.
like, you're correct in your feelings.
Yeah. Are we jumping in?
I mean, yes, I just want to say that yes, 1-star reviews are sometimes funny, but when you're dealing with a movie like this
that is very charged with other
sometimes
topics,
they're just important to talk about.
Yeah.
Instead of it being, oh, haha, funny.
Yeah.
1-star reviews, that's trash.
Yeah.
I mean, haha, yeah, the 1-star reviews are trash because this is a good movie, but
yeah,
it's still like,
some of the commentary in them
I only have 2
reflective.
There were just so many
that were just so negative.
But basically this first one is, they straight in go, I'm not white, nor am I American.
Well, that doesn't help you. Well, the American part, the not being American part is difficult, because you really do have to be here to fully fucking understand what's going on in this fucking in America.
It's true.
You cannot be outside. If you are outside of it looking in, you really don't get it.
Yeah.
Like, you have to be here for a bit to truly get it.
And then the sentence right after that was like, it was, however, my God, after 5 minutes, I genuinely felt sorry for anyone who is white.
Oof.
I'm sorry.
Oof.
That is not a sentence that has ever been spoken, I think, unless you are far right.
Yeah.
Feeling bad for yourselves that, oh my God, the media hates us, and people just like they wanna demonize us so bad.
This is like the other film like talking about woke.
Yeah.
I'm like, so fucking, can we just understand horror films can just be like a historical reenactment film. They can talk about or reference things in history and things like that are fucking crucial topics.
Yeah. And I don't know. They continue to say, it's not edgy or different like they try to make it out to be. It's plain cringe. Do you think white people are so oblivious? Every time you try to get into the film, you just get pulled out every 5 minutes to just let you know that white people are the sole problem of the world.
Do you as you already said, you don't live in America, so
the other thing,
we got a lot of people who are oblivious.
We are white people.
Yeah, we are white people.
Watching this movie, I didn't feel like that.
Nope.
I didn't feel like I was being pulled out every 5 minutes to let me know that I'm the problem.
I felt like I was drawn in farther.
Yeah.
Because it's a absolutely fascinating story, and it's such an interesting topic. And in the film, the people who were taking advantage of them, the people who didn't respect them, the people who, you know, were rude to them, got their shit kicked in.
Yeah.
The Candyman character is a protector of black people, period.
Yeah.
That's why at the end, when Bree calls on him,
He protects
he doesn't hurt her.
No, you're right.
Because she's not the problem.
Correct.
It's the people, like, and it's not, and here's the thing we're also trying to express too. We are not saying all white people are like this. Like, don't do that bullshit that's like, oh, you're referencing everybody, you're general. No, there are a lot of us. And especially in America, there are a lot who are like this commenter. But we're just trying to get better.
It's like that thing. I'm about to get political. Is that bad?
Oof. Get political, and then we're going to try and real fast deviate.
Okay. So it's like there was a certain person, I'm not going to name, but I think when I say this, everyone's going to know, who said that the number of white people who are killed by police is a lot higher than black people. While that may be true, there is a significant amount of white people in America versus black people. And when you put the number of black people who have died over white people who have died,
it's a lot.
Black people are targeted.
Because it has to do with the population demographic of those races.
Yeah.
Like, obviously,
there's more white people, so there's going to be a higher number. But at the same time, if you compare that to the amount of black people in America.
Like, if you put the number of, like, white people who have died by police over the total of white people versus the total of black people over the total of black people over America, like, the
percentage is
way different.
Way different. Like, so while it may be true that more white people die, there are just more of us.
Yeah, there's just more of us. There is just more of us.
So
there's a reason why in society it's called a minority group.
Yeah. Because
they are the minority, not the majority.
Yeah. And while police brutality is a whole separate problem on its own.
Oh yeah, it's its own, like, it's its own issue.
Like,
it's its own fucking problem.
People die from police, and that's its own separate thing. But it's just the number of it's the numbers. And you can't just like take things on a surface level and be like, oh, more white people are dying. Oh, so what are black people even talking about?
Exactly.
Do your research, babe. Do your research.
Yeah.
Do the numbers.
It's like,
do the math.
I'm sorry, but there's too often where people are freaking the fuck out about stuff that they don't need to be because they're hyperfixating on trying to put themselves in the right when they are definitely not.
This one says, it keeps going. Says, all you sense from it is pure hate and aggression, like a little kid throwing a tantrum. Why can't you use your platform to include political undertones, but encourage equality at the same time? Make Candyman kill anyone who's done something wrong to them, regardless if they're white. My God. I'm sorry. There were black people who died by Candyman in this movie. It was a smaller number, but it still happened.
And even if you go back and watch the original film, you were telling me that it's like
in the original film, it was anyone. It was just because this movie came out during this time,
really intense time.
That's just what the people who made this film are going to focus on more. That's just how it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, it's Kairos. That's all I gotta say. If you don't know what that is, it's just basically it's a rhetorical device that people use, and it just means that specific content was released during a specific time to relate the two together. So it sticks more.
It's like photography that is done during a specific time, or plays that are done during a specific time that reflect a specific time. It's because they have historical context.
Yeah, it's just timing of things.
Yeah.
So that's just how it is.
And then you have a second one.
I'm still not done with the fucking first one.
The first one is still going?
They keep going. And I'm like,
dude,
why?
Go for it. This person clearly feels like they got a lot to say.
Do these writers and directors not realize that more than 50% of people who watch your film are most likely white?
What?
That
you just said 50.
Yeah, 50%. Well, there are definitely more white people, but obviously this is going to attract a bigger black audience.
Exactly.
However, white people are still going to watch this film.
Yeah.
And if I'm correct, it did really good in the box office. It did. So
fucking great in the box office.
I don't know. It says...
Clearly, it's a good fucking movie.
Yeah. And it says, all I could do was put my head down and feel genuinely sorry for the white people who viewed this film. It must suck in 2021 where equality is forced down your throat, but they somehow make the most racist movie possible.
That is just... So cringy.
I don't know how to swallow that. I don't feel bad for me.
I don't feel bad for me.
I don't feel bad for
I
me at all.
watched that movie and I was like, more power to them
Yeah.
for having something on their side and getting their story out. Like,
True. So,
all of the people who were dicks in that film died.
yeah.
So I'm fine with it.
Mhm.
They were all assholes. They
And,
were all
like-
trying to take advantage of them and all that kind of shit and didn't give a
Mhm.
shit about their actual existence.
True.
So fuck them.
And obviously not all white people are going to be like that, but
Exactly.
again, timing of this movie.
Exactly.
That's just
It is a focus. Also, area that the film was located.
yeah, like
It's
people
going to be
are
different
not-
if we're in LA or in New York or in fucking bumfuck Texas, because you know for a damn fact that would be a very different film if we were in some of these
Ooh.
places that are sundown towns.
Yeah.
So trust me, there are worse places right now in our current time that are still sundown towns.
Yep.
So trust me when I say I do not feel sorry as a white person for white people in this film.
Yeah.
Wild.
It still keeps going.
It's still going.
Oh yeah.
Holy shit, this man really
yeah.
felt like they had thoughts.
And I'm skipping some little bits that
Oh,
are really
yeah, go
important.
for it.
It says, to top it off, the ending was awful and honestly just a lie.
What?
I don't understand how we got to that point at the end. The police officers were made to be automatic, spineless pigs. How intrinsically evil do you think white people are to just shoot the protagonist because he's black and then goes to try and bribe the other witness to act like nothing happened because she was black?
Do you have any idea how often that actually happens now?
Listen, if you can find a modern example of this, please let me know, for God's sakes. I would love to see it. It's hypocritical to its core.
I don't know. Let's just pull up the long ass rap sheet of that happening all the fucking time.
Yeah. Like
Also, where is it like it was a lie? What is that referring to?
like the lie, like it's talking about, do you really think police officers are like that? Some of them are.
Yeah, some of them are.
Some of them are. So
Why do you think people want to reform the system?
Yeah.
Because shit needs to start over. Priorities, like there's also a level of it where police have too many, are spread too fucking thin over way too many shit.
Yeah.
Do you understand the history of policemen? Like, do you understand where that comes from? What the origins of a policeman is? Their whole origin is based on individuals who were hired to go track and recover slaves that ran off. Their literal job was to track and recollect slaves for slave owners,
That's crazy.
or eliminate them if a slave owner would ask so. So I'm saying when we say that there needs to be a reform and a refixing of the system, there's a history as to why.
Yeah.
Because they don't start out on a good history.
Yeah. So
Yeah, we're getting real deep into the weeds.
yeah. I like where we're like, we're not going to make it political.
Oof.
Well, tough.
Tough.
The next one
If you don't like it, fucking go. We
Like,
don't want you here.
I'm not going to apologize for it. This is how we feel. This is
Yeah. Everyone deserves respect. We're two fucking women,
gay.
part of the LGBTQ community.
Yes.
Like, if you're going to sit here and try and be like, oh my, you're damn idiot. No, like, some shit is going down and shit needs to get fixed.
Yeah.
And we get it.
Yeah. Obviously to an extent, but we're not going to sit here and compare
Yeah.
what do you call it? Compare minorities and compare problems, cuz it's not.
You cannot, it's like when people are sick. You cannot compare someone who has a cold to someone who has cancer. It doesn't work like that. Both people can feel pain and feel sick.
Obviously one
Is going through it way worse.
Yeah, but it's the same as
You don't
like,
belittle anyone's
no,
things.
Don't belittle anyone's pain.
Also, don't fucking compete. Don't
No,
compete.
Competing is stupid, especially for this.
Hell no. That's
no.
fucking stupid. No competing.
No competing.
Don't do it.
Like why
It
would
just makes you look ignorant and stupid.
And at the same time, obviously, if you're a part of, what is the word?
Describe it.
Like a minority or like a LGBT or women or people of color or like those groups.
No fucking clue.
Well,
I would have just said minority because my brain can't think of anything else.
there's a specific word, but I can't think about it. Like, no, I don't know. But yeah,
Yeah.
All of these people go through discrimination. Who gets discriminated against the worst is not a thing.
Yeah.
Obviously there are.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna get into it anymore. You get what I mean.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Next is
Oh, we're finally on the second one?
yes. Next is Jordan Peele makes the exact same movies over and over. I don't know what it is about the original Candyman, maybe because of its subtlety of using race and equality just briefly for his reasoning to kill. Amazing storytelling and pacing, which makes it one of the best horror movies of all time. But this movie feels like a 19-year-old LGBTQ BLM culture vulture made it. And while I'm not insulting those groups,
Yes, you just
but
did.
all of the movies he's done recently seem like the exact same movie over and over again. I'm sorry, that's just incorrect.
That's fucking wrong.
It's so incorrect. And I hate that you were like,
How would you even quantify
culture vulture.
us
I'm not insulting.
to be in combination with Candyman? How would you say it's the same film?
They're not at all.
They are not at all.
And then he's also done Get Out and Nope. And like
Nope,
all
like,
of those
how do
movies
you-
are drastically different.
Just because he's using black actors as main characters.
That's like saying all white movies are the exact same movie.
Exactly. And you want to know what? There's a lot of white movies that are
Are
very
the
similar.
exact same, but none of I don't see, obviously there's a similar theme pattern within each
Yeah,
one,
and
but
guess
they're
what?
not the same movies
As
at
a
all.
fucking artist, you're allowed to have a theme through your work.
Yeah. Yup.
Who fucking cares?
And then there were other people in like the reviews saying like, why would you bash all of these people and then like complain and criticize but then do nothing to help the cause? What do you think these movies are doing?
They're literally bringing stuff into the zeitgeist and making people aware of all of the bullshit.
I'm sorry.
What do you
people-
think popular film, movies, TVs, all sorts of shit do?
Yeah.
Also, it brings forth all of these amazing people of color who are fucking wonderful actors
Yeah.
and bringing them into the forefront and saying, hey, these people exist, fucking hire them because they're
Yeah.
amazing.
If you go back the last 30 years and look at who's been nominated and who has won Best Actor or Actress,
Yeah.
most of them are white people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like, you can't say that they haven't had so many chances over and over and over
Yes.
again. Like, at a certain point, you need to, like, bring these people into light. And you, like, they need to have
Exactly.
recognition.
It makes me think about the fucking, this is definitely not a fucking horror film, but it makes me think of The Little Mermaid and just the bullshit that went with that.
That was so
of
dumb.
people freaking the fuck out.
She's
and
a
I'm
fish.
like, she's
a fish.
absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful casting.
Yeah.
Love her. Hell yes. And it made so many black little girls all over the
Yes.
fucking world be
I'll-
like, there's someone who looks like me who's a princess, and they get to go see her in the parks and shit.
Yeah.
Like,
for
fuck
sure.
yeah. Like, she's a goddamn fish that lives in the ocean. I love Ariel. I've
Who
loved
cares
Ariel
if
my
she's
whole
a,
life.
a princess from Denmark? I don't care.
I don't give a fuck.
I don't care. She lives in the ocean. As far as I'm concerned, she's a fish. And nothing will change my mind because
Facts.
after watching this one video of this little black boy who was like holding Ariel, like the
Yeah.
original Ariel doll, and like started watching the trailer for the new Little Mermaid, he was so beyond happy and like
Yeah.
excited that somebody looked like him.
It's just so
And
cute.
I was sobbing. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like,
And you see all the families going to go see these films and
Yeah.
stuff. And it's like, and what's even more awesome is I think somewhere in Hollywood, the original voice actor of Ariel showed up to some of
Yes.
the stuff. And
Yep.
like people were taking pictures and it was
Mhm.
like so cute because they had the new Ariel doll.
Mhm.
And she's so fucking excited.
yeah.
The fucking original voice of Ariel is so excited about the new Ariel and everything like that. Like, y'all need to chill the fuck out.
Really. It's
Art
it's
is
a
art.
movie. It's a movie.
Art is art. It's subjective. I don't give a fuck who the fuck you are. All of it's subjective.
At a certain point, it's like, obviously, I want to see new stories of new
Yes.
black characters and
Yes.
new, like, histories of just
Other areas of the world.
other areas and other cultures, and
Yes.
not just remaking white characters into black characters, where I get
Exactly.
why that would be amazing to see because a character you love
I
in your own
want
skin.
black cultures
Yeah.
being presented.
I want new stories because everything's
like,
a remake now.
Hey, we just talked about Disney. Hey, Disney, Do an African princess that's actually from Africa.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know why they haven't.
And she would be so beautiful for fucking real. Like, do a tribal, like,
why haven't
powerful
they done?
ass.
I don't understand why.
Like, I know they've got the Wakanda Forever and everything, but I would love like an animated Disney film
yes,
that has this like powerful ass African princess. Hell yeah.
yeah,
It could, hell, if you don't want to make her a princess, you could just make her a warrior and she has Mulan status.
yeah, yep.
Because guess what? The only reason why that the fucking Mulan is considered a Disney princess is because they altered their own stipulation in order to make her one.
Yep.
They made it so that you could be a warrior and shit like that. So guess what? I would love that.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, stop making remakes. I want new stories.
The only reason why they make remakes is because they're trying to bring it to the younger
And that
audience.
obviously makes sense. Love that.
Because that's even for this film. It brings the story to the modern format.
Yeah. I love
Or
how they...
contemporary, as many of my teachers would be like, they avoid saying modern
Because modern
it's
is technically
not modern, we're contemporary.
yeah, modern is a whole different genre.
Yeah. Modern is actually before us.
Yeah.
Contemporary is where we are now.
It's because when you say modern, you think of today.
Today, yeah.
Yeah.
Terminology.
But you get what I mean. I want new stories. I obviously understand why they're recreating things for like newer audiences today, and like obviously seeing yourself as one of your favorite characters, like one of your favorite characters in your skin.
Yeah.
That has to be a good feeling.
And it's not like they fucking just stopped making the original fucking Ariel.
No, they didn't.
They're not going to stop making that doll. She's been popular as that character for so fucking long. They're not going to just be like, well, now we have a black Ariel, so let's just throw out all the originals.
It's just now you have your choice. Where I
Yeah.
see where that would also cause some tension of like which one's better. But like,
who fucking gives a shit?
don't do that.
They're
Don't
both
do that.
the same fucking character. They're both great.
It's variants of the same thing.
It's why I'm so fucking excited, because they are still going to do it, is the Tianu Bayou ride. I'm so fucking hyped for that.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm so hyped for that.
If it's trash, I'm gonna be so pissed.
I'm going to be so pissed.
I'm gonna be so pissed because
Disney,
that
you
is such
have
a
good
movie.
animatronics. Fucking use them.
Yeah, yeah.
I swear to God.
The Frozen ride, a disappointment.
Like, you have beautiful. I've seen that fucking Beauty and the Beast that's in wherever the fuck it is, because I can't remember if it's in Asia or in fucking France, but wherever that fucker is, I've seen that Beauty and the Beast ride, and that shit, those animatronics are amazing and beautiful. You better bring that shit here.
Yeah, people need to just shut the fuck up.
Yep. And mind their own business.
Not mind their own business.
Oh, well,
they
mind,
need to like...
mind all of the world.
That's what I'm saying. Yes.
Be real. Be fucking real.
Yeah, be open. Don't be ignorant.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, neither of us are perfect either.
Hell no.
We have so many things to learn and unlearn, and
But that's the whole point.
that
We're
is
trying.
the whole point. We are trying. And if you just start trying, that's worth
Your
it.
life will get better if you just fucking try
Yeah.
to be a better person.
Yeah.
We just let's get off this hot ass train.
Yeah, because
Let's get off this hot ass train. All right. So, our next episode, we can end it there. I think we've done pretty good.
yeah, we've done a lot.
We've gotten our point across.
I think so.
So, yes, it is Halloween time frame. It is October. It is finally going to be fucking Halloween. So excited. Our next film is Trick or Treat, a classic.
I don't understand how it's a classic. It came out in 2007.
Yeah, it's a cult classic.
I don't understand that.
How the fuck old were you in 2007?
I was 5.
Yeah.
That was not that long ago. That was 15 years.
I know, but it's like, it's a character of Halloween. He's the spirit of Halloween.
Okay.
It's still just cute. Anyway.
Yeah, he's really cute.
Yeah, he's a cute character. I love Sam. Anyway, so yeah, look forward to that. Send us an email or anything. Tell us your thoughts on some shit. horrorunmasked@gmail.com.
As long as you are nice about it.
Yeah. Follow us at Instagram and Twitter at Horror Unmasked. Listen to us, Spotify, iTunes at Horror Unmasked Podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Horror Unmasked Podcast. Like, rate us, review. You know, it helps with the algorithm, helps to get us out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think with that.
There's only one thing left to ask. Will you fear?
Or will you fear not?